You're watching the RebZone Sports Show on Fox 5.
Straight ahead in the Red Zone, not so melekalikimaka for UNLV at the Diamond Head Classic after a strong start against Hawaii was followed by a tough loss to Indiana State and a clunker against Bucknell. Head coach Marvin Menzies is in studio to talk about what happened on Oahu. Plus, the Mountain West season is here and UNLV has 2 home games to get things started. We're previewing Colorado State and Wyoming. And we sit down and talk with senior guard Noah Robotham, why he decided to return to his hometown, and his thoughts on how the offense could get rolling in the second half of the season. The Red Zone, ready to talk 30 minutes of running Rebels hoops right now.
This is the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by RC Willey. Your home, your way.
Good evening and welcome inside the Red Zone. Kevin Bollinger alongside Running Rebels head coach Marvin Menzies, just back from Hawaii, and most people go to the islands to relax. Something tells me you didn't get a whole lot of relaxation over there.
No, that would be putting it mildly. Yeah, no, it was a work trip, and we had one good quality meal where we had a chance to get out and have a good team meal. We do the team meals at the hotel for the most part, but Sunday, I believe the 24th, we had a chance to go out and get a nice steak and have kind of a festive time together with the guys there. But no, it was a challenging trip and a challenging with challenging results for two of the 3 games. It's funny, I saw the coach from Tabwell from Colorado, and they went 1-2 on the trip, and we went 1-2. And I saw him on the strip, not the strip, but the Waikiki Boulevard there when our bus was coming back as they played for us. And he's got his sunglasses and he's just walking and enjoying himself. And I'm going, so wait a minute, we're both 1-2, but because you won the last one, you can enjoy your last day. Crazy business, you know?
It is a crazy business, and we're going to look at the last game here against Bucknell, the Running Rebels, finding a lump of coal in their stocking on Christmas Day as they took on the Bison.
The Running Rebels faced off with Bucknell in the 3rd place game of the Diamond Head Classic on Christmas Day. Bucknell's Bruce Moore knocked down a 3 on their first possession, but on the other end, Joel Tombwe hits a triple of his own for a quick 3-3 tie. Then the wheels fell off. Bucknell drained another 3, and then off the ball screen, Jimmy Sotos gets to the rim to cap an 8-0 run. That was stopped by Jonathan Chamba Chachua, who gets the slam and the slap. Then off the turnover, Chris Clyburn heads the other way, and he gets the easy 2. The Bison, though, would open it back up. The 3 from Andrew Funk. Then the blocked shot on the one end, and Bucknell in transition where Kimball McKenzie gets the bucket in the bump.
Kimball McKenzie, and 1.
The ball movement leading to another 3. And then a telling sequence. Amari Hardy driving for the basket, but UNLV doesn't get back on defense, and Bucknell gets the easy bucket on the other end. Just before the half, McKenzie nails another 3. Bucknell had 8 in the first 20 minutes and led 47-30 at the break. The second half was worse. UNLV consistently missed lay-ins and dunks around the rim, several in the first few minutes of the second half. Bucknell continued to knock down 3s and took advantage of the Rebels not getting back on defense and getting transition buckets. This was a game to throw in the garbage, as Bucknell never trailed and cruised to a 97-72 win.
All right, let's start specifically with the Bucknell game over in Hawaii. And 3-point defense was so critical in this game, and it looked like it wasn't there. They got rolling from 3 early and opened up that big gap, and it kind of was just the beginning of the big storm.
Yeah, it was a calamity of errors. There was just a lot of things that went wrong that optimistically I still feel like we could fix those things. There weren't. We went immediately back to the hotel and watched the game and reviewed the film right away. And the guys took accountability, which was good to see. They were obviously down. Their spirits were down, but they were able to look and say, okay, here's lesson 1, here's lesson 2, here's lesson 3. And I think we were able to shore it up over last few days of being back on the mainland now and having an opportunity to get back in the gym. And it's the best thing to do after a tough loss. It was our worst loss of the year by far. I could go into a half hour of what we did wrong, which shouldn't be the case on any episode, but it was that bad. But again, we played a lot of guys out of position. We had Nunu at the 5 at one point for a series, and you can see on the defensive transition there, we had a guy that's supposed to be shadowing the ball in that case, and both of them thought they were shadowing, and one was supposed to be getting back. And so there was just a lot of things. And after you go back and you look at the tape and you figure it out and you make sure they understand. That's the most important thing. Like, we as coaches, we could tell you this and that, but did they get the lesson? And then are they going to apply that in practice with how we approach things going into conference now? So it was, I hate to say this, but it was probably a good reset and wake-up call to we're not near where we need to be playing, and here's the things that we need to do, both conceptually and technically, and let's get after the next few days and prepare for Colorado State.
Yeah, how do you make sure that something like that, goes the way of motivation going into the conference season, of putting it behind you, learning from it, and then pressing the reset button and making sure that it doesn't carry over?
It's real simple. It's character and culture. If you have a great culture and you have good high character kids that aren't going to start blaming their teammates or blaming something else, and they are truly the right type of kid that you want in your program, then you'll be able to reset pretty easy. It's when you have the infiltration of the negativity and the finger pointing and all those things, which we don't have. So I feel pretty good about it. I also feel like the guys were very educated by this experience, and I think that is the most critical thing. And we know that we're 0-0 now. Every team, every conference, and the whole conference is struggling with tough losses throughout over this holiday season for all of the Mountain West. And I think that the teams that have the right culture, the right character, and talent, can still go into conference swinging with new zeal and vigor because we're 0-0.
Before we put this week to bed, let's talk injuries real quick. Shakur Houston, Cheikhna Dembele both didn't play in Hawaii. What's the latest updates on both of them? We're
going to know something, I would imagine, within the next 48 at the most. Final decisions on both of them. Cheikhna, I feel like we're down the road a little bit on him already, and Shakur as well, but we need to have those sit-downs tomorrow, and then we're going to make some final decisions, and we'll announce those this week.
If you don't have them the rest of the season, obviously you have two inside presences in terms of affects substitution patterns. How does it impact schematically what you want to do on both ends of the floor when you take two potential bodies that aren't going to maybe be available all the time?
Well, you look at what happened in that Bucknell game, and you identify some things, and then over that, not just Bucknell, but the prior two games as well. What worked well for us, because we didn't have them there for all three games. So what worked well for us? What instruction needs to go to the guys that played maybe in some positions they hadn't been playing a lot. So it was good to have 3 games without those guys. They actually had 4 and counting BYU as well. So now we have at least a small sample size, or a decent sample size of 4 games to assess and analyze and then instruct the guys on how we're going to handle our business going forward.
Well, let's move forward because the Mountain West season is upon us. Time for our first break. When we come back, we are going to look ahead to this week. The big conference season opening up. We're going to preview the first 2 games on the schedule against Colorado State and Wyoming. That's in just 2 minutes as the RebZone rolls on.
You're watching the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by RC Willey. Your home, your way.
The preseason is over. It is time for the Mountain West season to get going. Wednesday night, the Running Rebels open Mountain West Conference play against Colorado State and then host Wyoming on Saturday.
The Mountain West season begins Wednesday night when Colorado State comes to the Thomas and Mack. Gone is Larry Eustace and the Diet Cokes. Here is Nico Medved, no stranger to Colorado State and the Mountain West, as he was an assistant under Tim Miles when the Rams had things rolling. The players know there's a new sheriff in town, and he has quickly put his style stamp on the program.
I think we're going to play quicker, play faster, more pace, everything we do. We're going to really get out in transition after a good rebound, a good defensive stop. He says, we're going to have a great shot in the first 8 seconds or a great shot in the last 8 seconds, and that's our goal. If we're not going to get into a score on transition, we're going to get into our offense, run our offense with pace, try to get a bucket through there.
The Rams have hit a rough patch of late and come into conference play with a sub-500 record, but they're averaging more than 75 points a game and take care of the ball with under 12 turnovers a game. CSU and UNLV always seem to play up-tempo games that come down to the wire, and this team loves playing in Las Vegas.
It's always fun playing against them. They always got a high talent level, high athleticism, guys that like to get out and go. So anytime you can compete against some guys like that in a venue like this, your energy is going to be up. If you have any type of competitive edge.
On Saturday night, Wyoming rolls in, and it's been a struggle so far for Allen Edwards' squad, which is extremely young. Last year, the Cowboys went a little more offensive focused because that's what their personnel dictated. But this year, expect Wyoming to get back to what Wyoming has done for a long time. Defense, defense, defense.
Kind of get back to the basics of what makes basketball successful at the end of the day, and that's competing on the defensive end of the floor. But yet at the same time, we're still going to score. We're just that's part. It has to be a process with our new guys. But at the end of the day, they got to understand how to defend and rebound.
We're focused on the defensive end. We can't let teams score on us as much as they did last year. You know what I'm saying? So this year it's been all defense. Of course, when we get down to the offensive end, we're talented. We have guys that can score. But if you're open on balance, he lets us shoot it. But at the same time, if you're gonna have that much freedom, that much ability to play, you got to also do what he asks us to do on the defensive end, and he's bearing down on us this year.
The Cowboys have a big-time weapon in Justin James, who has the ability to take over games on both ends of the floor.
There would be times, in the game where we're down and we need, a stop or we need a basket, and obviously, I feel like I have the ability to do that, and obviously I have the confidence to do that. So I whenever I see the opportunity, I always take advantage of it.
2 games to open the Mountain West that bring in 2 different styles of play, but 2 good chances to get off on the right foot at home.
All right, so here we go. Wednesday night, Colorado State, new head coach, but he's been around the program. Right. He's been around the Mountain West, so it's not really a true transition, if you will. But this is a team that might get up and down with you guys in terms of pace of play.
No, they can score the ball. They've got some quality shooters and scorers, and Page and Bonner, and they've got a couple new freshmen in there that I really like. I think are going to be good players in this conference going forward as well. And then, of course, Nico is not Nico, but I'm drawing a blank on the big kid's name.
Carmacho?
Carmacho?
Also Nico, yeah,
like
Carmacho.
He is a Nico also, right?
He is.
I knew that. Even when I was wrong, I'm right. And I was like, wait a minute, no, that's the head coach. No, that's the player. This is both of them. But he's a special talent. He's a kid who's got great savvy. He's reminds me of one of those old school bigs that, he's up and under you, and he's going to get, I think he's averaging 14 and 12 rebounds or something right now. He's a very, very good go-to big for them as well. So they have a lot of individual talent. They struggled in some games with new coach and new system, but they're a force to be reckoned. I think as they move through conference, I think they're going to steadily improve. It seems like they're setting a pretty good culture as well.
And I know you haven't looked too far ahead at Wyoming because the focus is on Colorado State, but the one thing that your players will see is a team that's going to try and dig in on them defensively a little bit, maybe something we saw with Cincinnati in terms of the type of pressure. So having those types of games in the preseason, that's where the benefit comes up.
Yeah, you always schedule, you like to schedule that way where if you've got a Air Force type team and you're going to see Princeton, if you could get a little taste of that earlier in the year with some of their actions and some of the things that they do. If you're going to have some up and down teams like New Mexico plays and some pressing stuff like you might get at Fresno State or something like that. So you want to be able to touch that before you actually get into the games that really count, which not that they all don't count, but obviously conferences is when it gets real. So entering with the first game, we think we have some good comparisons there and some good relative games to Colorado State as well as Wyoming and what they do defensively. So it'll be interesting to see the bounce back on the guys, and I've already started to see it in practice, so I feel good about it. But we just want to get back on the floor and kind of get things started off on the right note.
All right, we're going to pay some bills right now, and we're going to continue to profile Runnin' Rebels from this season's team. When we come back, a closer look at the local player who came home. We sit down with Noah Robotham for his thoughts on playing in a UNLV uniform. That's next.
You're watching the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by RC Willie. Your home, your way.
Noah Robotham, the Gatorade Player of the Year his senior season at Bishop Gorman. After heading to Akron, he's back in his hometown to play his senior season at UNLV, and Robotham couldn't be more excited.
They say you can't go home again, but Noah Robotham did just that. The senior is back in his hometown of Las Vegas for his final season of eligibility after transferring from Akron and sitting out a year. Robotham had a relationship with former assistant Rob Jeter, and then once he met Marvin Menzies, his decision was made.
When I got to sit down and meet Coach Menzies, he's very genuine, very authentic. He didn't have to sell me anything. I wanted to play here. He wanted me to be here. And, once we kind of just spoke about my plan while sitting out and how they saw me while I got integrated into the offense for the following year, it was like a match made in heaven.
Robotham played at Bishop Gorman and graduated as the Gales' all-time winningest player with 112 wins. He grew up as the UNLV program started winning again under Lon Kruger and considers himself a lifelong Runnin' Rebel fan.
I was a big fan. I think from people that, my age, I was born in 1996, so kind of early 2000s, there was nothing here. And the only thing to do was go to UNLV, Runnin' Rebel basketball games.
After leaving for Akron, Robotham got a better appreciation for the UNLV brand.
I didn't know until I actually started playing at other colleges, like whether I was in high school playing tournaments, at other colleges. I didn't even know how big the UNLV brand was. I think we're kind of accustomed to Thomas and Mack. Not every other, college campus has an arena that sits 18,000. The production with the fireworks and the lights and the fire, the pyro, all that stuff. Like, they don't typically have that, but I didn't know that. I thought every place across the country had that. So when I kind of got to branch out a little bit and see, it was actually a cool feeling because you saw how unique UNLV basketball was, and you just saw how big the brand was.
Now he's playing on the Thomas and Mack floor, helping to get the program back to where it once was. Sitting out a year, Robotham had a chance to get a feel for the system, but it wasn't until he started playing in games that things have started to click in place.
Offensively, we just want to just keep a good pace. We want to, play fast, and if we play fast, that'll limit us from running plays. We'll kind of just play that transition look. But I love the way Coach Menzies coaches. It actually took me some time, and we had some close scrimmages and practice that I got used to the way that he coached me, and I think he got used to the way that I respond to coaching. And I think, we're also, too, developing our relationship. We have a great relationship, but, it takes time. You just don't get that in practice. You have to get that in games when there's real emotions.
Menzies is counting on his senior leadership, not only on the court, but in helping the younger players along, meaning his short time at UNLV will likely have a lasting impact. Robotham is out to prove that you can come home again, and he'd like nothing better than to put his stamp on the team he grew up rooting for, at the program and in the city that will always be in his blood.
So we touched on it there in the story in terms of not only the stuff that he can bring to the floor, but the little things in terms of bringing Amari Hardy along and some of the other younger guys. How important is that to his role with UNLV?
Well, it's critical because of his experience and his maturity. You could just listen to him talk there. He's one of the best interviewers I've had as far as players. He's just very articulate, very well spoken, very thoughtful, raised by two wonderful people. Marilyn and Bobby have done a great job in raising that young man. And I'm just really, really happy to have him with us. I think the best is yet to come. BYU wasn't bad, though. I'll put that up in the best when his book is finished being written here for this year. But just doing a great job with all those things right now, and we're optimistic that he'll continue to help us as a program going forward. He's helped us right before he even signed. I tell the story more than once about how he literally gave up his scholarship so that we could go sign a player in this year's class because if he needed the scholarship and he had to have it to become a running Rebel, it was his. And he said, well, Coach, I'm all in, and whatever it takes for us to win, whatever it takes for you to help to grow the program. That doesn't happen with kids in this generation. It doesn't happen with kids in a lot of generations. He's just a very, very special young man, and we'll always, be very close to each other.
All right, we're going to take one final break. We're going to come back with the Running Rebel Plays of the Week right after this.
You're watching the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by RC Willie. Your home, your way.
All right, the conference opener, Wednesday night, 7:30 out of Thomas and Mack. Good luck, Coach. We are looking forward to it. We're going to break it down next week in the RebZone. Thanks for joining us for this one. We leave you with the Running Rebel Plays of the Week. Good night.
Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show was presented by RC Willie. Your home, your way.